Man spends 1.4 million on game character, which his friend then accidentally sold for 552. Well, if you thought I couldn't find a weirder story than the last one, which was sponsored content, by the way. Maybe this is sponsored content too. Who knows? Who knows anymore? Whoops. According to South China Morning Post, a man in China spent an eye-watering 1.4 million on his character in a multiplayer game. Do we have to have that many letters?
MMORPG.
Do we have to have that many letters?
Apparently. Yeah.
MMORPG. Can we shorten that?
Yes. They could just call it MRPG.
Just
multiplayer, really.
MRPG.
That's the difference.
So can you just give us a breakdown on MMORPG?
I know the first M is multiplayer. No, massive multiplayer. Online.
Massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Yeah, you could take out the massive, you could take out the online.
Massive seems gratuitous. But why do we have to have that? Or is that antiquated? Was it once upon a time because that was like an innovative thing probably to have that many online players? Okay, anyway, there's a game called Justice Online, which I've never heard of. Have you heard of it? It must be just huge in China, obviously. This guy really wanted this character in the game. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? If you have 1.4 million that you can even consider buying a guy in a game, Justice Online, if whatever makes you happy. Mm-hmm. So he tries to buy the guy, but his buddy accidentally sold the character for 552. So how weird is this story? The man filed a lawsuit against the game company NetEase and his friend. So the guy, he spent 1.4 million on his character and then his friend sold it.
Yeah, his friend borrowed it.
He borrowed it.
Like,
would you let your friend borrow a $1.4 million character? What kind of friend is that?
Yeah.
That's a huge responsibility. So this guy, now I'm thinking, oh, he has a ton of money to spend 1.4 million on a character. But then it's a different level of money to spend 1.4 million on a character and then lend it to your buddy.
Yeah.
Now you don't even care about that 1.4 million. Mm-hmm. Well, you obviously care about it enough to sue him. But it's a wild, what a wild turn of events. Now, the friend, he said he actually wanted to list it for 55,000, but messed up and put the wrong number in because he had a long night of gaming.
Yeah, as you do.
He said the defendant claimed the shockingly low price was due to a typo induced by exhaustion after a marathon gaming session.
Those MMORPGs, they'll do you.
What are these people? What is it? What are these guys doing? Why, after a marathon session of MMORPG,
would you
does he say now's the time? Now's the time to list this character that doesn't belong to me that my friend lent me and paid 1.4 million for. Now's the time.
Yeah.
4 a.m. marathon session, Cheetos everywhere.
Yeah. The market's right.
The market is hot. Yeah. The market is right. I know my friend paid 1.4 million, but I'm going to list this right now for 55,000, except I'm also going to screw that up and list it for 550. So, the craziest part about this is that after the lawsuit, the company agreed to give the $1.4 million investment back. Mm-hmm. That's kind of wild. You would think the company would say, we can't help you here because he bought it presumably off of another private person, or maybe not. Does the game have characters that are that expensive?
He bought a bunch of shit for his characters.
Right.
And then that equaled up to 1.4. So maybe the gaming company can just duplicate his character.
Maybe. Sure. But apparently it says he got his 1.4 million back. Oh. So did he get his character back or did he get the money back? It's kind of confusing. You would think that they could just give him his character back. That would suffice.
That would make sense, yeah. Just roll back.
He did, however, have to pay 12,000 in damages to the player who bought the pricey character on the cheap. So the guy who got it for $500 ends up with 12,000 in damages.
It's a win for him.
What
I
a
guess.
wacky story because of the anguish. He thought he got the deal of deals.
Yeah.
He thought he had a $500 million character. Then he had to find out the terrible truth that didn't take place. And then in order to deal with his anguish, take 12,000 instead of the massive bargain. What I don't know really what to say about this. I don't. What's the most you ever spent? Did you ever play one of these games, Will? Where you're putting the outfits on and everything?
Online, yeah. I mean, Diablo 2 or 3 was pretty big.
You were putting all these outfits on.
Really concentrate on the outfits there. But
Well, how else do you spend the money? It's mostly just that.
I would say in Diablo 3 at the beginning had like a real auction that you can buy with real money.
But what are you buying?
Yeah,
say it.
outfits.
Yeah.
Amongst other things. I mean,
I
there's
remember.
equipment
Okay,
and
obviously
stuff.
Fortnite recently blew up, and this.
It's not just skins.
The idea of what is this? They give you the game, and then it's a whole freemium. It's a
Freemium,
whole
yeah.
thing. It's a hot topic right now. Loot boxes are another hot topic. It's all really coming into the mainstream now. But I understand it's been going on for a really long time. I know people in the comments are having a boomer fest right now, boomer this and that, because I'm making fun of the idea. But for me, it always did boil down to kind of what I'm saying, and I have tried it before. Why am I don't care about this outfit. Honestly, it never clicked. It never clicked for me.
Yeah. For Fortnite, it's really about the skins that doesn't affect the gameplay. But in like these RPG games, equipment does.
Oh, so this guy can pay his way to the top of the game?
Exactly, yeah. So
Kirk's nodding his head?
he can possibly have the most powerful character
Oh,
in
okay.
the
All
game.
right.
So
then
it does affect
Oh, okay. Then I understand that. But then why would anyone want to play who can't compete? Who can't spend enough money to compete?
Yeah. Well, maybe he wanted to be in like an in crowd of like the top tier and he just paid his way in.
Wow. The plot thickens.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's getting out of hand. If you got 1.4 million to spend on this, go for it. All the better. I just don't. For me, the appeal is not obvious.
Yeah.
But if this guy, I don't even. Will, I'm not playing that many games. If I play a game, I want to dip in and dip out.
Yeah.
This stage of my life. If I play a game, I need a dip in and a dip out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need my whole life, you need the 1.4 million. I gotta have all the outfits. I gotta be in the crowd. I gotta have the.
Yeah.
I gotta have the 2Ms ORPG, and I gotta have my own guild, and I gotta have we're setting up meetings
You
at
gotta
the
have
right times.
Raids. A lot of raiding.
I can't.
No. Maybe Minesweeper is your game.
Yeah, I can dip in and
Solitaire,
yeah, exactly. That's perfect. I can dip in.
Yeah.
I dip in. I dip out.
There you go.
So, but who knows? Maybe later on in my life, I become MMORPG.
You become him.
I become a massive multiplayer. Later on in my life, a few hours open up, and I'm just massive.
Yeah.
I'm just a few hours open up, and I'm massive in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm deep.
You're wheeling and dealing.
And I'm wheeling and dealing, and I'm deep in the game, and my guilds are there. And maybe later on in life. Yeah. I'm not going to rule it out. It's a possibility. And you got to do what you got to do, for the record.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. If it's got to be justice online, then that's what it's got to be. You got to do what you got to do. But just make sure you got the 1.4 before you go crazy with the outfits. Mm-hmm. That's the moral of the story.